Today on In the Woodyard, we're talking about chains, chainsaw chains that is. Here's a bunch of them. We're going to talk about when it's time to change them out. This is a new one. These are old ones. We're going to talk about what to look for and when you need to change it. It's probably sooner than you think. So I've been asked on my channel lots of times, when is it time to change your chain? Now I used to think you could go right down till it's a nub or to the witness marks. Yes, you can. But should you? No. Because your saw is working way harder when you get your chain down to just nubs. And I learned this from my brother Ken. He's been a professional logger for over 30 years, hand cutting with chainsaws, where he had to make money producing. And I learned long ago from him that when a chain gets down to about 2/3 wore out, it's time to replace it. Maybe even at about the halfway mark. Because when you're cutting, you want to be able to cut as fast as possible, especially if you've got limited time, you want to get the work done. Chains that are wore this much, when they get down to nubs like you're going to see here, I'll show you some close-ups. These are not good as far as production. You want to be able to cut as fast as possible if you want to make as much wood as possible. And that's why a new chain is better than a lot of other things in life. Just saying. When you have a chain that's wore out and you put a new one on, you say to yourself, and it's happened to me hundreds of times, should have did it like 3 sharpenings ago. But I keep thinking, oh, I can get a little more out of it, get a little more out of it. You cut a little bit and you think, oh, it's cutting pretty good. And then you think, well, I'm right down there, or you hit a nail or a rock or something, like, well, okay, I'm not going to sharpen this anymore because I'm down to, I got 1/4 of the chain left. I'm down to the witness marks. I'm down to the little nubs. You put a new chain on, it's like, wow, I should have did this long ago. I have found from experience and listening to my brother, like I said, who's a professional, once you get down to about 2/3 of the chain gone, it's time for a new one. I'm going to show you the differences right now. So here's a bunch of chains that I have taken off, and they're down to just nubs. And these I save because I got a few guys that buy these from me. They pay me a few bucks a piece because they use them for like cutting stumps, or they get some life out and they sharpen them up, and that way they don't have to buy new chains. But I prefer new chains, and whether you use Oregon, steel, Husqvarna, they all work when they're new. I think there's a lot of chains and people think, oh, this one is better than that one, but for the money, Oregon is pretty darn cheap. I buy these in bulk. I buy them by the dozen, and when I buy them, the last time I bought a couple dozen, I think I might have paid $17 or $18, whereas if you buy the same chain in a store individually, you're going to pay $32, $33, $34. And the Husqvarna and the steel chains, you're going to pay even more. But dollar for dollar, the Oregon chains are probably about the best ones as far as how long they last and for what you pay. I have talked to Steve at Chainsaw Suppliers. There's a link in the description down below. If you're interested, they sell tons and tons of chain. And he says he's done all the math, and it comes out to that your Oregon is your best bet, dollar for cost of chain, and for how long they last and how they cut. So that's from a guy that deals in thousands of chains monthly that he sells, so a lot of chains. Now I've got a few over here that I have hung up. These are ones I just need to sharpen, so there's 4 of them here. And then there's an odd one here that I hung up. I think this is one that I think I gotta fix the links in the back for the drive links, because I think I got some burrs on it. So I put the ones I need to work on over here, and then all these extra ones I just hang up over to the side here. But today, this chain here, I'm going to show you some close-up on this. This is a chain on a saw that I used a whole bunch the other day, and I was cutting a lot of brush down to the ground, so I was hitting the ground all the time. And that's why a lot of times I'll save these, is for either cutting a stump, or I sharpen them up a little bit. And if I know I'm going to be cutting low to the ground doing brushing, where I'm cutting, small, thumb size or pinky size little saplings off the ground, I'll put a junky chain on and a junky bar on, which is what this is. This bar needs to be replaced too. And I do that a lot of times because I know I don't want a brand new chain on, because I'm going to basically be cutting dirt. Frozen ground, if I know I'm cutting really bad stuff, I'll put one of these on, and I'll have 4 or 5 of them sharpened up, and I'll go till, a lot of times it's a half a tank and I hit the ground and it's starting to cut dull, and maybe I'll go till the tank is empty, and then I'll slap another chain on and then replace it and then go again. And then once they get down to these nubs, and I'll show you some close-ups right now so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this tooth here is about 2/3 gone, but you see the next one, a little more than 2/3. You can see the witness mark there, and it's just barely a little bit more. But then the next one, it's just a nub, and it's right to the witness mark, which means it's too far gone. Here's another one, probably pretty much gone. It's the witness mark's just a little ways away. Here's another nub. Look at that. And that happens because sometimes you'll hit a rock, or you hit a nail, or a fence line, or something like that. You hit something that's nasty, and you can either break the tooth off or you break the tip off. Here's when you can see the witness mark. So some people will think, oh, you got a lot of life there yet. Yeah, you might, but that one doesn't. And there's a bunch of them like that on this chain. So once you get down to where you're down to the witness marks about that close, or right there, it's on the witness mark right there, it is pretty much done. If you've got just a little nub there, you hit something hard, you're going to snap a tooth off. And that usually happens when you hit a wire or a nail or the ground or a rock or a pebble, something that's in there. You'll break those little nubs off because there's really not much there. And if you break one off, that means you're really done. Yeah, you can still cut with it, but it doesn't cut great. So you can see those little nubs and what they look like. And so yeah, that one's not terrible right there. That one's pretty good, but that's about the limit as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to show you a comparison now with a brand new chain. So the one in the background you see in the center, that is the one that I said still had a little bit of life left on it. And the one below it here you're seeing, that's a brand new one. It's still in the container, so you can see the difference. So that is more than halfway gone. It's approaching 2/3, probably 2/3, which means you're way down there. Now some people are going to want to say, oh, why don't you measure it? Because I can feel when I'm cutting. If it's not cutting well, that means I need to change the chain. If I get down to where I'm getting these nubs like you see here, I know it's time to change the chain. Some people would get a micrometer out and measure it and say, well, when you get down to 0.093 of a quarter of a millimeter, it's time to change it. I'm not going to measure my teeth. I can just feel it. If you cut enough, you know. And if you're starting to force the saw, if you're starting to use the dogs more than you should, if you're pushing harder than you need to, you probably have a problem. And a lot of times the rakers need to come down. You can see the difference in the height of the rakers. That one in the middle right there in the back row, you can see the rakers have been taken down, or the depth gauge, chain depth gauge, and there's one in the front that's never been touched. You can see how much higher it is. Quite a bit of difference. So those are something to look for. I'll show you a couple other things. Again, here's the nub in the back and the new chain in the front. Look at the difference. That's incredible. A lot of people do not realize that when you get down to that, you're wasting time, and it's harder on your saw, and you're producing a lot less. So that is to me, way too late to change it. It's right down there compared to the front one, which you can see is a brand new chain. The teeth on it are nice, very nice. So this right here is a brand new tooth, and look at this sad thing. This is a very wore out one, and some people say, oh, it's still sharp, I can still cut with it. You're producing powder at that point, and your production goes way down. The one you see right here, right next to it, if I can pan over there, the one you see right next to it right here, that is the witness mark right there on the tip. As you can see that line. That's basically, to me, it needs to be changed now or the last sharpening or so ago, because this is way down there. And then here's the new one, as you can see the difference if you can compare the length. So here's a good example right here. If you see this one, this is wore way down, and it definitely is time to be replaced. This one here is obviously the new one. I'm going to show you this little bitty one here with the, I get it over here, the one that's got the barely any nub left to it here. If you can see that one right there, look at the size of that baby. That is ridiculous. If you're cutting with anything like that, you should be ashamed. You're trying to save too much money. Throw the chain away, put a new chain on. You'll make more money, cut more wood, whatever it is you're after, if you put a decent chain on. So there you go. This one right here is about as far as you want to go. And as you can see, if you look at the actual length of it, if I line these up, it's probably past halfway. It's probably close to 2/3 if you look at the length of it there, because you've got from the front edge right here on the edge of the top plate back to about here. But if I line it up exactly where it should be, right about there, that's how much you've got left. Not much, very little amount, and it's time to put a new chain on. All right, so let's put the new chain on. So here's our chainsaw. We're going to put a new chain on it. This one is down to nubs, and like I said, I was cutting the other day. I was cutting easy cutting wood. I was cutting aspen, which popple trees, which usually cuts like butter. kind of like cutting pine. It's like cutting a marshmallow. There's just nothing to it. And it wasn't cutting very good. So I knew it was time. And I hit the ground a couple times. I was doing some brushing. And I thought, I got to put a new chain on this thing. And I had one, but I ran out of gas. And I thought, I'm done for the day. So today is the day. It's raining outside. We're going to put a new chain on. So this is basically how I do it. I don't usually use my sled, except for sharpening. But this is something you can use the sled for changing a chain if you want. If you're on a workbench or on your tailgate. I got my little vise here with the sled, and I tip it onto its side like this, and it holds it really nice. So you're not having to fight it. That's one of the things that a lot of guys struggle with, is keeping their chainsaw level so they can work on it. But just spin these out. These have keeper nuts on here, so all I got to do is spin these out, and we'll be able to get it off. And I'm not going to do a big, huge production cleaning and all that. I'm just going to slap a new chain on, because I'm going to be cutting with this again in a very short amount of time. So there, we got that off. We got that off. And pull this plate off here. And there's the old chain. And we're actually going to take, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a different bar. This bar is really worn, and I noticed it's starting to cut a little crooked. And that's another thing that comes up. Why does my chainsaw cut crooked? And there's usually 3 reasons why, possibly 3. One can be that your chain is sharper on one side than the other, or it's real sharp on one side and dull on the other, which can happen when you hit something. If you hit a nail in the tree or a fence or something like that, and it can start to cut crooked on you. It starts to cut kind of that crescent shape if you're cutting, rounds and things like that. So that's one reason why it can happen. Another one can be is that your bar is worn and your chain actually twists side to side like this, and it'll move on you. So your guides on your side, on your rail, if you got one side worn more than the other, the whole chain can actually, instead of running straight, it can tip one way or the other, or either direction, and it can do that. And a lot of times you'll get one side higher on the bar than the other side. So you got to make sure your bar either needs to be dressed, leveled off so that you're running even, or put a new bar on. That's another option. And then the other possibility is you have the wrong bar and chain combination. And what I mean by that is I run pretty much 0.050 chain, and if I was to run that chain on a bar that is a 0.058, it's going to be sloppy, and you're going to have it cut crooked, and that could be another reason. So those are the 3 reasons I can come up with that it could possibly be. So that's something to think about. Well, let's switch this out right now. The chain that is down to just nubs. I mean, there's just nothing left of it at all. And this bar is terrible too. So we're going to swap it out. I'm going to put this down here where I hang up all my bad chains. And then if you look here, what happens with a bar, if you use it a lot, you'll start to get a dip right here where the chain comes around the edge. Even though you flip the bar, every time I sharpen, or every other time, I'll flip the bar over. This one is shot, and I kept this because I knew I was going to be cutting brush, and I didn't care what would happen to it, but it's getting so bad that it's pitiful. So I've got another one that's not quite as worn that I'm going to put on that's still worn. It needs to be replaced too. And I don't have a new bar on me right now, but I'm going to get one tomorrow. But tomorrow I'm going to be doing some cutting, so I'm going to swap this out. Here's another one. You can see how bad this one is. If you see where it's getting grooved like this right here, that's horrible. This side's not as bad, but it's still bad. But that's nasty. That means this is junk. And some people will replace your tips for what it costs. I don't think it's worth it. I think you should put a new bar on. That's just me. I'd rather just have a new bar. So we're going to take this one. As you can see here, it's not quite as worn, but it's still worn. But that's okay, because I know I'm going to be cutting stuff that isn't that important. It's just going to be cutting brush again, but I got to put a new chain on it because it was so bad. So one of the things when it comes to putting a new chain on, if you get it where you're hanging onto it and you get a loop down here like this and you can't get it out, what you do is you either lay your chain down and get it so that it looks like this, a loop. Because if you get it where it looks like this, and you got these in there, you don't want that. So all you got to do is look at it, put it flat, and then figure out which direction you got to go. Usually you just got to flip it one time and you're back to a loop. The more you do it, the easier it gets. But we're going to put this one on right now. So this is how I usually do it. I will stand the bar up. Some people do it laying down. I stand it up and just get it to go in like this. Kind of slide the whole thing in, and then when I get it to about there, I flip it upside down. And then I just work the new chain in, and then I hold it, and I want to make sure it's cutting in the right direction, this side down. Because you want your chain to be on the right way. I've put them on the wrong way. So I slide it in like this. So it's basically back into the sprocket here. Make sure your chain is all the way in, and I kind of pull it this direction to keep it tight. It's not that hard to do. Once you do it a few times, you get good at it. And then I put the cover on. The first thing I do when I get the cover on is I get lined up on the holes. So then you take your scrunch, and the next thing you do is you turn your chain tensioner, you back it off. So you turn this backwards, and you're gonna have to go 3 or 4 turns. And when you get it turned back, it should drop into the hole that's the bar. And I'm almost there. If I look down, I can see it coming up. We're getting close. We're getting close. Oh, there it dropped in. You saw how it dropped in right there? And then I go back the other direction and start tightening. And I get it to where it's pretty darn snug on a new chain. So right about there, and then we're going to tighten one of these up and then make sure that we're going to tighten. I'm not going to tighten them. I'm just getting them snug, basically. Get it to where it's just snug, and then I'm going to look in the back, because once in a while, your chain will come off of the sprocket. It did not, so we're good. And now I can loosen this just a little bit, and now I can tension this, get it to about where I want it. And I'm going to want it pretty darn tight on a new chain. And it's going to be different. You're going to need to probably tighten it after one run anyway. One tank, you're going to need to tighten it up, or even halfway through your first tank with it. There we go. Now it's pretty snug. Now we're going to check it and make sure that we're good to go. And I always do this with gloves on, because you don't want to cut your hands, especially on a new chain, but there we go. Yeah, we're good. And it's about the tension I like it on a new chain. The next thing we're going to do is something a lot of you do, but I know a lot of you don't do. And this is something that, this is my opinion here. So in my opinion, when you put a new chain on, they're sharp. They could be a little sharper. They're not terrible. Some guys that hand file, they'll sharpen them right away. They always do a stroke or two on them, and that's not terrible. But the one thing that a lot of people agree on is your depth gauges. They need to come down about a stroke or two. 2 might be a little much, so I just do 1 good one. And the reason I do that is I don't think they're quite as aggressive as I like them. I like to almost hold my saw back a little bit, so when I need it, I can really reef on it. I think the depth gauges, to me, this is my opinion, are a little high. So we're going to take these all down. So the first thing we're going to do is mark a tooth, so I know where I'm starting here. Or I look for the link. See if I can find the silver link here. I think there's one in here. So right here, you're going to see there's a colored link. It's like a brass link, or it's golden colored. Right here, you can see it. I think you guys can see that. Can you see that? Tell me if you can see that. There it is. That's where we're going to start and where we're going to stop. Sometimes I'll actually take a magic marker and I'll put a mark on a tooth so I know, but I can see this, so we're good. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to take it down. We're going to work on the opposite side, and I'm going to take 1 stroke off on the opposite side, and then we're going to go back the other direction. And you want to go to the opposite side, because if you go to the near side, your file will chatter and bounce. So you go to the far side. So 1 good stroke is all we're going to take off. And make sure you know where you left off. I'm trying to do the same amount of pressure, the same length of stroke on each one. And I've cut my finger a couple times doing this, where my glove has a hole in it, or I slipped off and I've slid my index finger across a sharp tooth. It doesn't feel good. There's a 24-inch chain and bar, for those of you that are wondering, probably asking me that in the comments. That's what I pretty much run almost all the time. And there we go. There's the brass fitting again. So we're going to spin this around. We're going to go the other direction. Might not be good for you guys to see, but it's going to be good for me. So right here it is. We're going to put that out to the front again. And we're going to go right from right here. Again, I'm going the opposite side now. Now we're going to go out to the end again. some guys have told me they do 2 strokes right away. And I've tried that, but it seems to be a little aggressive. And we're probably going to be cutting, I'm thinking we're going to be cutting aspen and pine and brush with this, so I really don't need it super aggressive, and that's it. So it's a flat file, and there's no grooves on this side, so you're not hurting your teeth. This is made specifically for a chainsaw chain. It's an Oregon. I got a bunch of them. So there we go, and that's the tightness I like to start with. It's pretty tight, but that's good because it's going to need that. So this saw is ready to go. Let's show you how I sharpen, not this chain, but an old chain when it's not on the chainsaw, because I haven't done that in a while. Okay, so we are going to be sharpening. I'm going to be using a rotary tool. Now I have 2 ease doos. This one is a battery one. It's a 12 volt. Yes, 12 volt. And then I have the corded version. Then I also have a Dremel 3000, which is corded. I have a Dremel Multi Pro, which is corded. And then I have a Dremel 8100, which is a battery one. This is an 8 volt, which I would not get. If you're going to get me, get the 12. The 8, you're only good for a couple sharpenings, and it's not very fast. So it works. If you're on location, it's kind of nice to have it, but I have the corded ones, and I prefer those most of the time because I usually have a battery pack, and I also have a plug-in in the back of my truck, and I prefer the cords just because you get more power. It lasts for a long time. Whereas if you get a battery one, you're going to be good for 3-4 sharpenings maybe. And if I cut a lot, I want more juice, not less. So there you go. I got a bunch of them. I got a couple other ones somewhere else too, but they all work. Any rotary tool will work. I use the ease doos quite a bit just because they gave them to me and I like them. They seem to work pretty good. I'm going to show you the differences in the bits right now. So this is a brand new bit, and this is one that's pretty much toast. You can see the difference. Hopefully you can see that this one is much more tapered. They will turn into an hourglass, which is why when I'm sharpening, I go back and forth with the bit. So I'm trying to use the whole length of it, so it's not just in one spot. But I'll show you how I sharpen when I don't have a chain on the chainsaw. Okay, so I've got an old bar mounted in my vise. And this is just a regular little 3-inch Craftsman vise. And what I do is I put the bar in here, and then I will drop the chain in from this end. I know guys make little sleds or whatever you can put these on, but I'm going to try to get this to go in here. So I'm going to go here to here, get in the groove. There we go. And once it's on, it is on. There we go. So it's in. Oh, that's the problem. We got one here that's got a kink in it. That's the issue. That's what this is. The problem is. There we go. Now it's in. I guess it's just got a little kink. So now I'll be able to move this this direction. I can just keep bringing this around. And then when I'm sharpening, I can sharpen here, 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 here. And a lot of times I obviously wear gloves. I will wear ear protection. I wear eye protection because these bits can explode on you and pieces go flying. And it's a stone gray bit. I use the Oregon 7/32. Here they are. You get a 3-pack for about $7-8. On Amazon, they're like 10. But we got a local store that I buy them at. So here's what can happen is it will explode on you. This is one that was getting down there and I was sharpening the chain on the processor and it just exploded on me. But luckily I was all done. So that can happen because that's the difference between that, where did it go, and here is a brand new one. So obviously not good. So to take it out, you have a little pushy downy thing here. And it comes with a little wrench thing, but I just use my vice grips or my needle nose. Put that in. Slide this in here. It goes into the collet, which was something I forgot. That's what they were called. And then I hold this in. That holds your arbor from going around. You just tighten it up and that's it. So then this one is ready to go. But we're not going to use this one. I just want to put a new bit on it. We're going to be using this one. And this one also needs a new bit. So again, to take it off, you just give it a spin like this. I give it a little tap. There we go. Pull that one off. And then we're going to pull out another new bit. And as far as how many sharpenings I get out of one of these, I would say if it's not terrible, 5 or 6, something like that. If it's bad, you're going to get 3 or 4. But I save all my old ones because then these are a smaller diameter and I can use these on my smaller chainsaw chains, or I use them for other things. Like if I get a chain that's got some burrs on it here because I threw the chain, and I'll take the little Dremel and I'll grind that off on the sides and I can get the burrs off. And then that way the chain can be used again, because some guys will just throw a chain away, but I just throw them up here and I save them. So we're going to plug this in up here. So I have a little bank up here, and then we've got juice. All I got to do is get suited up. So we're going to put on some glasses. And I do use glasses with cheaters because I find if I can get really close, I can see better. My close vision is pretty good, but I want to really see it close. I don't want to kind of see it. And we'll use these gloves. And I think I'm going to grab some earplugs. So I'm going to put some brand new plugs in. A lot of times I have a pair of earmuffs here, but I must have put them somewhere else. Oh, they're over there on the snowblower. So I'm just going to put some plugs in because this is kind of a high-pitched sound, and I'm trying to save my ears because my left ear, I got like 50% hearing loss already. My right ear is not great, but it's better. And I see guys a lot of times running with no earplugs and no earmuffs, and they're running chainsaws, and they do it all the time. Someday they'll pay the price. That's all I got to say. Okay, so now I am going to mark a tooth here. This chain is probably close to half wore out, so it's not terrible, but it's not great either. So a red Sharpie, whatever color you want to use, just mark a tooth. And that's where we're going to start. And this is how it works. Sharp. 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 I got the rotary tool wide open, full power, because I don't want to be on that tooth very long. I just want it to get done. I don't want to sit there and grind and grind and grind. And again, this one isn't terrible. It doesn't get, I mean, it's just warm maybe. It's not hot. I think I put my bare skin right on it. A lot of people say, oh, you're taking the temper out of it. No, you're not. You're just fine. And some guys say, oh, you should put some lubricant on there. No, it doesn't really matter. I suppose you could if you wanted to. But I'm not on it that long. And there's lubricant on the bar, on the teeth. There's bar oil on there. And if you see a little bit of smoke once in a while, it's because there's a little powder of sawdust, like that one had some right there. Here's another one I can see. And I want that tip to be cat claw sharp, and I want the top edge to be a straight line across the top plate. And this is some of you guys that take your chains in to have sharpened at a hardware store or a pro shop, and you're paying minimum $8 for a small chain, usually 10, 12, maybe even 15 bucks. It's sharp. That's how fast it is. It's so easy compared to hand filing. And we are cat claw sharp. I mean, they're sharp. And the top plate is a straight line. We got the gullet. It's a straight edge. The tip is right there. The rakers do not need to come down on this. And the reason I know that is I can see where I took the rakers down the last time, and I can see file marks. If you see file marks, that means your rakers, or your depth gauges, for the depth of your cut, are good. If it's polished and shiny, smooth, which means it's been sliding over wood a lot, you might have to take them down a notch. One stroke, maybe two. So this chain is all good to go now. That's awesome. Let's do another one. This is how I take it off. You go up, and we're out, and drop it underneath, and there we go. It's a sharp chain. So I want to mark this with a piece of tape so I know it's good to go. And I just use a piece of this painter's tape because I want to be able to put this right into my my saw box that I take with me. So I'm just going to slap it on there and just kind of wrap it around like that. And then we're going to roll it up. There you go. Sometimes I'll put a rubber band like around it so it's all together like this. Actually, I'll do that right now. I'll go grab one. Okay, so I got some rubber bands, and we're just going to slap on. You got to be careful not to cut the rubber band. You want to put it in a spot, obviously, that it's going to be okay. We're going to twist this one. Let's do two of them just because it looks like I got it where there's not any teeth. We're going to put two on here. Here we go. So this is sharp. It's going to go right into my box that I take with me when I go, and I know this is a good chain. So I just pop it off, tear the tape off, go to town. It's that simple. So that's a good one. Let's do another one. I got another one right behind me here. I got 4 more to do. So again, we're going to go over here. We're going to bring it all the way to the tip. Just the tip. And we're going to go right about to there. And this should be in there. There we go. I just want to check it, make sure this is one that's good, because it might be one that needs the chain guides No, it looks like it's good. If you get one that won't drop down onto your bar, it's because you got a burr on your chain. I just got to check them because sometimes I will take them off and hang them up so I can fix it later, but this one's good to go. Again, we're going to mark a tooth and go back to town. Yeah, this one's much duller. You can see there's jagged edges. A couple tips are gone. No tip on this one. The tip is gone. So I grind it down a little more. And they do not need to be all the same length. That's not necessary at all. Each tooth will cut. The tip is gone on this one. So I took it down quite a bit. Tip's gone on that one. Another one, the tip is all, that's really gone. There we go. I usually sharpen at least every other tank if I'm in clean wood. If I'm in dirty wood, or if I hit the ground, or I hit a rock, or I hit wire, I sharpen every tank. Or sometimes every half tank if I have to. As soon as you notice your saw is not cutting well, sharpen it or change out your chains or grab the next saw. So these will all be ready to go for the next time I go. So I'll have a whole bunch of fresh chains. This is generally what arborists do, is they sharpen everything ahead of time. So this one's all good to go. There we go. So again, we're going to put a piece of tape on this. There we go. And then we'll fold it up a bunch of times. Give it a squeeze here. And then we'll slap on a couple rubber bands. There's one. Again, you got to try to miss the teeth so you don't just cut the rubber band. And a bigger rubber band would be better, heavier duty one. So there we go, we got another one done. All right, grab the next one up. Still got 3 to go. There we are, all done. Another one down. Now we're gonna wrap this one up, put some tape on it. Another one done. All right, so I just put on the new chain, and I have one chainsaw that's got a brand new chain on it. 2 of them I sharpened, and then I sharpened these 5, and I found a 6th one that I didn't show. And I had the case left over from the one that I just opened, so I just put that in there. But I put plastic bags around these and rubber bands, so now I can handle no problem. They can go into my saw box, and they're not gonna get caught on gloves or anything, but these are all ready to go. So I've got 6 sharp chains plus these 3. So I think I'm ready to go do some work. There you go. That's all I got for today, folks. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m. with another video. Right, I'll go watch all the other videos. There's 2,100 waiting for you right now. Good night, Irene.